Good evening, everybody. It's 7 o'clock. We're going to get started. My name is Melissa McClammy. I'm the president of the League of Women Voters of Greenwich, and on behalf of the League, it is my pleasure to welcome you to our debate tonight. The League of Women Voters of Greenwich is a nonpartisan, not-for-profit organization. It promotes informed and active participation in government. We envision a democracy in which every person has the desire, the right, the knowledge, and the confidence to participate. So we are very glad to see so many of you participating tonight by being here or viewing this debate on GCTV and informing yourselves about the candidates and the issues. Of course, we're also very grateful to the candidates who are here tonight. We appreciate your making time for this debate, and more generally, we appreciate your contributing your time and your talents to the Greenwich Public Schools and the town generally. The League of Women Voters of Greenwich does not support or oppose any political party or individual candidate for public office. Tonight is the second in our series of debates in advance of the 2025 municipal elections. We have a live audience here at Greenwich Town Hall. As I mentioned, we also have a television audience, courtesy of Greenwich Community Television. They are also recording this debate, and that recording will be available on our website in a day or two. I want to thank everybody at Town Hall and at GCTV for their help in making this debate possible and accessible to so many in the community. I also want to thank our many, many volunteers, which include our timers, our volunteers at the registration table, and many more who have helped us make this debate run smoothly and fairly. Our moderator tonight is Anthony Presta. He will be assisted by Catherine Broderick, who is a senior at Greenwich High School. Before I turn the debate over to them, I just want to say a couple of words about the debate and about the race, really. When you go into the voting booth, and you can do that beginning October 20th for early voting, you are going to see a line on the ballot for Board of Education for a 4-year term. There will be 5 candidates, and these are the candidates who are running for the full standard term on the Board of Ed. All 5 of them are here tonight, and again, I want to say thank you to all of you for coming tonight. When you look at that line on the ballot, you are going to see that it says you may vote for up to 4, and that 4 will be elected, but no more than 2 from any party. And the reason it says that is that by law, no more than half of the members of the Board of Ed can be from the same political party. So, of the 4 members who will be elected, there will be 2 Republicans and there will be 2 Democrats. So you should know we have here 2 Republicans, 2 will be elected. We have 3 Democrats, 2 will be elected. Now, on the ballot, you will also see another race for the Board of Ed next to this race. It's an additional race to fill a 2-year vacancy on the board. And that race is there because a vacancy was created on the Board of Ed by the resignation of a member of the Board of Ed. So there's one candidate running in that race. He's unopposed, and it was the decision of the League to limit this debate to the candidates for the full 4-year term. But I do want to introduce him to you. He's here tonight. His name is Dr. Michael Joseph Mercanti Anthony. He's here. I understand he'll be around after the debate if people have questions, but I want to tell all of you that you can learn more about him, learn more about these candidates, learn more about all the candidates running for townwide office by going to the League of Women Voters of Greenwich's Voters Guide, which is available on our website. It has biographical information about the candidates. It has questions and answers from the candidates. So I hope you'll go there, and that's www.lwvgreenwich.org. So with that, I'm very pleased to introduce our moderator and our student questioner. We have Anthony Presta and Catherine Broderick. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. So, just really briefly about myself. Again, my name is Anthony Presta. I'm a resident of the town of Wilton. I'm also a teacher at Wilton High School. One of the classes that I teach or have taught over the years is civics, and so I'm trying to do what I promote in my students. I'm trying to engage civically, do my civic part, so that's why I'm here today. I'm going to try to not hit the microphone too many times. But just a few comments. This is really just to help to explain to everybody really the rules so you guys understand how the debate flows and also for our candidates as well. So First, I'd like to welcome all of our candidates again. We have Bob Cheney, Laura Costin, Veronica Chiavaroli, Karen Kraus, and Paul Capiali. These will be our candidates for today, but also, so I want to welcome them all. I want to welcome all of you. These are our candidates for Board of Education. We're going to follow the following guidelines, which are designed to allow each candidate a fair opportunity to express their views and to facilitate the sharing of ideas. The order of questions has been determined in advance of the debate. The order in which the candidates will respond to the first question has also been determined in advance. Candidates will then take turns being the first to respond to each question that follows. Each candidate will be given equal time to present their views over the course of the debate. Timers will track the time and hold up signs to indicate to the candidates how much cumulative time they have used. Each candidate will have 1 minute to make an opening statement at the beginning of the debate and 2 minutes to make a closing statement at the end. Again, the order was determined in advance of the debate. Timers, who are all assigned to each of you, they're going to hold up signs that indicate when the candidate has 30 seconds, then 15 seconds left to speak, and then a stop sign to signal that time is up. Now, also just a few words for the audience. Once again, I thank you very much for attending. Your presence here shows your civic engagement as well as your passion. We received a collection of questions that were offered by the community, and I suspect some of the people in this room might have been ones that offered those questions. We have a nice amount of questions to go through. So one of the things that I would ask, just very respectfully, keep in mind, try to not applause or cheer or, engage in verbalizations. All of that will just really slow us down, and it'll give us less opportunity to give the candidates time to answer the questions that you all want answers to. So that's going to be really important. I guess, think of it as a civic engagement and not as a sporting event, I guess is the best way to think of it. I think that'll just work out, well for us all. And, I'm and the league, we're all looking forward to an informative, balanced, and fair debate. So thank you very much, everyone. I am not working alone today. I have Catherine Broderick, who is also going to be helping. She's going to be asking some of the questions along with me. So Catherine, if you'd like to offer the first, we're doing opening statements first. So we'll do opening statements, and I believe the first one is Ms. Chiavaroli. So you may speak.
Thank you. Sorry, it's my first time using this. I just want to take a minute to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting tonight's event, and to everyone here in the room and watching, thank you for your involvement in this process. Also, thank you to our moderators, Catherine and Anthony. My name is Veronica Chiavaroli, and I'm really honored to be one of the 2 endorsed candidates for the Board of Education with the Democratic Party. The Board of Education represents 2 things that I know and deeply value: Greenwich and education. I grew up here and I graduated from Greenwich High School. I went on to earn a master's degree in clinical social work from Columbia University and a master's in general and special education from Bank Street College in New York City. After that, I taught both in Greenwich and in New York City for about 10 years, and I stopped. I have children, 3 of them, who are in Greenwich Public Schools currently. I'm eager to bring my experience and expertise to the Board of Education with the goal of success for every student in Greenwich Public Schools. Thank you.
I just want to take a quick second to say hi to my wife and 2 boys watching from home. And, and I also want to thank the League of Women Voters and the moderators and the other BOE candidates for being here this evening. Just a little bit about me. I've been involved in the public schools here for over a decade. I started out volunteering for the PTA Julian Curtis for the book fair and talent show, which I later took over in later years. I also served as a parent liaison for the Julian Curtis Feasibility Committee back in the day, and I'm now vice chair of the Julian Curtis Building Committee. I've also served on the board of the Central Middle School and the PTAC board for 4 years. I'm also a District 11 RTM member and serve on the Finance Committee on the RTM. And I'm also the nominating chair and on the board of the Greenwich Alliance for Education, which is an organization that funds a lot of the curriculum enrichment for the public schools as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you to the League of Women Voters and to everyone here and participating tonight. I'm Laura Costin, and I'm currently serving my first term on the Board of Education. I want to continue in my role because although I've accomplished a lot, I have much more to do on my to-do list. And I'm proud of the amazing progress our schools have made during my first term, particularly in the area of student achievement. When I joined the Board of Education, there was no strategic plan to guide the district, but there is now, and it's working. The data shows our students are growing academically. I'm committed to seeing this critical plan through. In addition to advancing student achievement, I've been steady at the helm through unprecedented challenges, including the shutdown of Central Middle School during the middle of a pandemic. These accomplishments are emblematic of my commitment to our community. Serving on the Board of Education is important work, but I believe if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life, and I love what I do. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. I also want to thank everyone, the board here as well. Thank you. My name is Paul Capielli. I'm also currently serving on the Board of Education, although due to some partisan divide, haven't been allowed to actually sit at a meeting. But I do thank all of the other departments in the town of Greenwich, as well as all of the other volunteers and elected and appointed officials who have been collaborating with me for the last year. With that, I've been able to caucus with my party and make some input. My family and I have been proud to call Greenwich home for 4 generations. My father and 3 sisters, my wife and I all graduated from Greenwich Public Schools, and today my 2 children are students in the system. My wife also teaches kindergarten here, so education isn't just an interest, it's part of my daily life. Greenwich schools have long been a source of pride, but our academic rankings have slipped since the time my family and I graduated. We remain strong, but I believe we can do better. I sought this position because I'm committed to restoring excellence in education, ensuring opportunity for every child, and protecting the strength of our community that comes from having a world-class school system.
Thank you very much. Last but not least, Ms. Pratt.
Good evening. Thank you, League of Women Voters, for organizing this event. Thank you all for being here. My name is Karen Kraus. I'm the parent of 2 COSCOB school students, a community volunteer, and for the last 2.5 decades, a finance and strategy executive. My husband, Craig, grew up in this town, and we chose to raise our family here because of its strong community and excellent public schools. I'm running for the Board of Education because I'm deeply invested in that tradition of excellence, and I feel a responsibility to serve the town that I love. My goal is simple: to bring a positive, data-driven, and collaborative voice to the board. I want to use my professional experience to ensure we're achieving the best outcomes for our students and responsibly stewarding taxpayer funds. I look forward to hearing your questions and participating in what I hope will be a productive, bipartisan dialogue that will continue for the next 4 years.
Okay, thank you to all the candidates for offering your opening remarks. I think that we can get into the questioning now. So Catherine, if you'd like to offer the first question, I believe Ms. Chiavarelli gets the first one.
Describe your overall philosophy of the role of public education.
I'm a huge proponent of public education, as every child in this country deserves and has the right to a free and appropriate education. I believe that specifically here in Greenwich, it is an honor to have your children attend Greenwich Public Schools. We have outstanding teachers, administrators, we have a strong board, and incredible support from the community to run the best schools that we can. I believe that it is a gift for my children to be there, and I wouldn't want them to be anywhere else. Thank you. Sorry.
I believe it's important to get into the schools and see what's going on in the schools. It's why I started volunteering at Julian Curtis, and as somewhat of a small bench of volunteers at Julian Curtis, so you get to do a lot of things if you want to. You can choose to do a lot, you can choose to do a little, it's up to you. But I really wanted to get in there. Now I'm at Central Middle School working with donut days there, where we hand out donuts to some of the kids, and I'm in the media center for about an hour every about every week. And I feel like it's very important to see what's going on in the schools with the faculty, with the students. And it's unfortunate that some of the media assistants have been moved around a little bit. And I really think that might be a focus as well.
So I want to just say, I know the power of a great public education, and our graduates do too. I can tell you my public school education gave me everything. It helped me achieve the American dream in our family. I'm the daughter of an immigrant who made sure I studied hard and went to a great university. I graduated early and bought my first home. My husband and I have 4 kids in the schools. We're a proud public school family. We're 15 years in and still have a 3rd grader. So we are deeply invested, and I'm really proud of the work of our current board. We are really excellent stewards of our schools. Thank you.
Thank you. I as well, I'm a son of an immigrant. My father was the first to graduate from high school in his whole family, and he went on to give his children the tools they needed, and moved here to Greenwich, where the educational system was so highly regarded. The educational system here believes in early intervention, making sure literacy and numeracy skills are strong. We support our teachers in training, and we have family engagement. And these are all things that I believe in. With parents as partners and learning continues beyond the classroom, that's a recipe for success. We're also excellent at resource equity, making sure schools with higher needs get the staffing, support, and programs required to lift every child.
Thanks. I think educating the next generation is the single most important responsibility of adults in a community. Education is the key that unlocks the opportunity for a more meaningful life and a better standard of living. It's critical that we foster a love of learning and prepare the next generation to become informed, critical thinkers who achieve their potential and contribute to the world in some way that they find meaningful. I am proud to live in a town, and I chose this town because of the quality of the public education. And I think an opportunity to interact with children from different backgrounds is incredibly valuable. And I'm proud to partner with all of them to continue that legacy.
Okay, thank you very much. So now we're on to our second question. So Mr. Cheney, you're going to get to lead us off for this question. And the question is, what are the strengths of the district, and what do you see as its biggest challenges?
Well, I think the strengths of the district would be it seems like everybody, especially on the BOE right now, is working well together at times. I feel like there's also a lot of such a broad question. I'm trying to think. I would have to say the curriculum is doing really well right now. We have, let me just see if I can find this here. We have the preschool program is doing very well too, and it's growing. I would say some of the challenges are there's a lot of politics happening in town right now that I feel like is dividing us. I feel like the lawsuit that happened, the cut that happened, or reduction, however you want to put it. So there are challenges that need to be met, and I think they can be met by working together and trying to put politics aside.
So when I joined the board, there was not a shovel in the ground on any of our building projects that were waiting to be completed, waiting for years in the queue, and prioritized by the facilities master plan. But now, I'm happy to say, we are starting to complete those critical projects, including the Greenwich High School entryway. JC and Old Greenwich are moving ahead, and the Western Middle School fields have been completed, remediated, and handed back to the students. I think right now our biggest challenge is the budget cycle ahead. We were dealt a very difficult circumstance with the reduction from the BET. And right now, we are picking up those pieces. So, a lot of families are currently dealing with some very difficult transportation and busing challenges in their neighborhoods. We are working very hard to try and resolve those issues, but that is our biggest challenge right now. It's really operational.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Capielli.
Thank you. I believe some of the greatest things we have are our school teachers and our parents. We have incredible schools, but we can only succeed when those parents and educators work together. That builds trust, and trust is the foundation of a strong school system. Strong teachers translate into better instructions, lower turnover, stronger outcomes for students. Supporting our teachers is the right thing to do. It's one of the smartest investments we can make, and I believe we've done that. And so that's what I think we have. I think I would agree with you when you say politics are probably the thing that is our biggest liability. So I hope to work with this group to take that out of this and put the focus back on the children. We need some focus in some other areas. Special ed can be addressed. There are other things. We're an excellent school system, but we should be striving to be the best at all times.
Mrs. Krause?
Yes. Well, you've heard from my colleagues here a number of the strengths, and I want to echo what I've heard from several of them. I think first and foremost, our biggest strength is the dedicated individuals who work in our schools and interact with our children on a day-to-day basis. They are experts in what they do. They are dedicated and they are hardworking. And these individuals make a tremendous difference in our children's lives and their ability to learn. Second is our engaged families, many of whom moved here for the high-quality schools. They show up, they read to their kids, they ask how they can get involved. And I think when you see how vibrant our PTAs are across the schools, you'll see how much these families care. Some of the challenges, certainly politics has been one that has been particularly difficult this year, as Bob mentioned, and we really need to work hard to improve communication and restore the trust of the community. I will tell you, I have had coffee with every single person sitting up here one-on-one. I have met with every one of the Republican BET candidates, and I've had conversations with some of the Democrat BET candidates as well. And I will tell you, I am very optimistic that this group can work well, work productively to do what's right for the schools and the children. The other thing I do think is a challenge, though, is the achievement gap. Our overall numbers look good, but when you dive into the details, particularly at the elementary and middle schools, though, you'll see pretty significant differences across the schools, and you'll also see that our math scores consistently lag our English language arts. And I think we need to do some work there to bring that up.
Okay, thank you very much. And Ms. Chiavaroli.
Thank you. Similar to what many set up here in discussing the strengths that I think we have here in Greenwich Public Schools, I want to begin with our college placement and our curriculum. I believe that starting as early as the pre-K level, our curriculum that we have in place here in Greenwich Public Schools throughout elementary, middle, and high school is providing our students with an excellent opportunity to learn. And you can see that reflected in the college list where our students are going to school, whether it's trade schools or communities, colleges, universities, state schools, all of them. It's tremendous what we're able to do with that many students at Greenwich High School. But I do think that's an indication of what's happening in the earlier grades. Secondly, I think that there's been tremendous progress on some of the building committees across the district, although there is a ways to go and there are a lot more projects to be done. The work that has been done has been tremendous, and I look forward to seeing where some of the projects, particularly Old Greenwich, goes, and watch the completion of Central and Julian Curtis, which I'm incredibly proud to be serving on. Third, of course, our teachers and our administrators. We would not be where, it goes without saying, Karen mentioned it also, our teachers and our administrators are the biggest strength and the biggest asset we have here in this district, and I'm so grateful for every single one of them, even the ones that I don't even know yet. Similar to what others said, I think that this year our biggest challenge on the board will be the budget, whether it is managing the $4 million cut that happened this past spring or moving into next year's budget cycle. I think that that will be a challenge, but similarly to what Karen said, I think that there's an incredible slate of individuals that are running, and I look forward to the expertise and being able to work with all of them collaboratively.
Okay, thank you very much. Catherine, I think we're on to question 3, and Ms. Costin will lead us off for that one.
To what factors do you attribute challenges to teacher retention, and what specific measures would you take to improve retention going forward?
Well, I will say we do attract the best and the brightest. We're tremendously gifted to have the faculty we do. I'm a member of the Distinguished Teacher Award Committee, and I see the hard work of every single teacher nomination that comes across my desk. And I'm just blown away by their expertise. However, when I see the kind of angst that the operating budget reduction caused for our staff, I'm deeply sad inside. And I know that right now we do not have budget guidelines for the year ahead, and I fear we might not until after this election. We are beginning the budget planning cycle now, and I cannot possibly imagine another reduction that would force us to lose staff. I can't imagine a teacher looking at the budget process that unfolds before us, and I don't know why it is such a process that creates such heartburn when it doesn't need to, but it does. I think there has to be an acknowledgement from our finance board that contractual costs are what they are. I think that that has to become a regular, predictable factor in their calculations, because when you don't give us enough to operate, we're forced to operate suboptimally. So I really hope that changes, because if I was a teacher looking at this budget process year after year, I would not think this is any way to run a district.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cappielli, you're next.
Thank you. I think right now we have a problem related to teacher retention, specifically teacher morale. It's one of the most important issues facing our schools, because if teachers don't feel supported, students don't get their best. And we've seen morale dip, driven by staffing shortages, behavioral challenges, and too much change coming from the top without teacher input. I'd like to see some more collaboration with teachers to kind of address that. And I think this also reflects in the absenteeism that we're seeing in our teachers. Right now, we have one of the highest absentee rates for teachers on Mondays and Fridays. This should give us an idea of where their morale is, and the fact that we need to step up and correct this right now. I mean, it's across the board, so it's a symptom to something, and we need to address what's causing it.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Kraus.
Yes. So having not had an opportunity to engage with a wide range of teachers, I will be hesitant to speculate on all the reasons, but I will posit a few. First of all, it's a hard job. physically and emotionally. You've got 25 kids with a wide range of needs. I mean, I'm a parent of 2, and that's hard. This is a different order of magnitude. It's not just hard physically, though. It's also hard emotionally. These teachers care so much, and they're dealing with a lot of challenges. And so I think it can be very emotionally draining as well. I think the keys, though, are to make sure, first of all, we've got to listen to the teachers. We need to engage them in solving the problem rather than assuming we know what the solution is. We need to work with them collaboratively. We need to look at data. And I think we need to make sure we're setting the right tone from the top, that we're cascading that effectively so our teachers feel valued, and they feel supported, and they feel empowered to do the job that they view as their calling.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Cavaroli?
Thank you. Similar to what Paul and Karen said, I believe that a few factors in retaining teachers include they're being asked to do too much, they're spread too thin, and I'm not always sure that they have the right support that they need. Whether it's dealing with large class size, the diverse abilities of all the students in the classroom, and then the 10,000 other things that they are asked to do in a day besides responding to all the parents' emails and phone calls, and the IEP planning and special ed. I think that they're asked to do a tremendous amount, and I can understand why they are maybe burnt out and unhappy. Also similar to what Paul said, I do agree that teacher morale being low is probably one of the biggest concerns that I see we're going to have to face as a board going forward, and it's not going to be so easy to address. I think that we need to continue to pay our teachers competitively with other districts, and we do have some data to show that we are paying them similarly to some of the other districts nearby, whether Darien, New Canaan, Westport. And also on a little bit more subjective level, I think that we need to work with them. I think we need to talk to them. I agree that we need to stop assuming how they feel, what they think. We need to engage them. We need to listen to them and provide them the opportunity to do it in a safe way where they feel listened to and heard and trusted. That's something that I hope, having been on the other side of the pickup line, it's something I hope to bring to the board.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cheney?
Yeah, and having been in the schools, in the PTA, I've seen the teachers and seen how they do things. And of course, I'm not in the classrooms with them, but I see a lot of the teachers and their struggle, and the struggle's real. And I think it's hard to go last because I agree with a lot of what everybody's been saying, but you want to talk to the teachers, but you also want to listen. You want to make sure that they're heard, they're being heard. And that's a very important thing. I also feel like obviously salary is an issue. We have to pay the teachers what they need to be paid. And a lot of them don't live in Greenwich, and we're all the way south in the state. They have to commute all the way down here, so they have to add that into their salary as well. So there's a lot of different variables that happen that would help with the retention of teachers in this town.
Thank you all very much. So I think we can move on to the next question. Question number 4, Mr. Capielli, you're going to lead us off for this one. And that question goes, what needs to change to improve the BOE's ability to successfully advocate for the district's needs in the budget approval process? Specifically, how would you approach the final negotiations at the end of the budget process, specifically with the BET? And what skills and experience do you bring to this position that will make you an effective advocate?
So the number one thing that we need to do is communicate. And that line of communication was, it's the worst that it's ever been in the last year. Again, we go back to the politics of what's going on, and I think that we're all going to be grateful to see an end to that. So communication's the number one thing. You also mentioned what would we do towards the end of the budgetary process to be more involved, and I think the answer is we need to be involved in the very beginning. Right now, we're already talking to the BET and the BET members about how we can be involved from the beginning, and where we can provide the feedback, what we need the funds for. There was no real collaboration with that in the last year. So the number one thing is just talking to each other. And I think we have a skilled set of people up here that can do that. And I think we have skilled BET members that are welcoming that. They were disappointed with that as well. Not as much as we were on the Board of Ed, because we got the brunt of it. But that's what I would say is communication, but not in the end, in the beginning.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Kraus.
Yes, thank you. I think, Paul, you said that very well. Look, this was a rough year for parents, for teachers, for students, but it hasn't always been like that, right? The Board of Education, the Board of Estimation and Taxation have worked well together in the past, and I am absolutely confident that we can restore that trust and that collaboration. One thing that I have promised everyone is no surprises, no last-minute surprises. We will do our homework early. We will communicate transparently. I am, as the numbers geek up here, I have committed. Look, I've spent 2.5 decades in financial services. I can tear into a budget. I've committed to everyone sitting up here that I will share my analysis, and so we will know going in. We won't be fighting about underlying assumptions. We may have differences of opinion, but we will have a clear and transparent fact base, not just with each other, but with the Board of Estimation and Taxation and the community that is paying for our schools.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Chiavarelli.
Can you repeat the question?
Sure.
Thank you. It was a long one.
It's a multi-part one.
Thank you.
What needs to change to improve the BOE's ability to successfully advocate for the district's needs in the budget approval process? Specifically, how would you approach the final negotiations at the end of the budget process, specifically with the BET? And what skills and experience do you bring to this position that will make you an effective advocate?
Thank you so much. It's communication. It's very simple. It's very simple. The BET needs to understand, they need to listen, and we need to listen to them, and we need to work together, and they need to understand what the Board of Education needs in order to function year over year. It is our job as a BOE to explain that to them in as many times as it takes so that they can fully fund what we need and explain why we need it. I agree that we need to continue to work collaboratively, openly, no surprises. And the last question
What
was,
skills
I'm so
do you
sorry.
bring
What skills
to
do I
the
bring?
position to
Sure, thank
effectively
you. I
advocate?
apologize. I'm a teacher. I've been in the classroom. I don't know everything that every teacher in the district needs, but having been in front of a class of many, many students before with different needs, maybe I can bring that perspective.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cheney.
Yeah, I would say the first two parts of the question can be summed up into one part of the question, in my opinion. I think you need to not communicate at the end of the budget. You need to be communicating the entire time. You need to be talking back and forth and create clear lines of communication without politics involved. You need to make sure that you know who you're talking to and what you're talking about so that the communication can get there where it needs to be. I feel like the powers that be that voted yes on the budget reduction are really feeling heat from that choice. And I doubt a cut of that severity would happen again. But if it seems like that might be on the table, it's up to us as BOE members to make sure it doesn't happen. I mean, what I would bring to the table too is I know obviously I'm very friendly with all of the BET Democrats, but I know a lot of the BET Republicans. Joe Kelly served on the Julian Curtis Building Committee with us before he left that. Harry Fisher's on the building committee right now. So I know a lot of people in town, and I feel like I could help bridge the gap between partisan politics.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Costa.
So I'm a member of the Board of Education Budget Committee, and I can tell you there is always a discrepancy. It's a tale as old as time. The Board of Education has needs, the Finance Board has the means, and to this point, they have looked at the Board of Education budget as a whether to fund problem, not a how to fund problem, and that is the essential thing that needs to change. If you know the cost of your contracts, if you know what it takes to run your buildings, if you know what kind of non-certified personnel you need, there really should be no surprises. I don't want to minimize the dynamics of the budget process, but it is pretty formulaic from year to year. And there is a unwillingness to look at this issue pragmatically. That is what needs to change. I mean, we have given data, we have provided our achievement data as a means to justify our expenses, and it is not compelling to them. If they don't believe that the product is worth the price, they will not fund us. And we are continually showing them that the product is worth the price, but to this point, it has fallen on deaf ears. I don't know what else to say.
Okay, thank you. So Catherine, I think that we can move on to the next question. Ms. Kraus, you'll be leading us off for this one.
Do you agree with the specific decisions made by the Board of Education as a result of last year's $4.2 million cut by the BET? If not, what would you have done differently?
Thank you for that. And just to put a couple of facts out there beforehand, given the way we're referring to this, last year's operating budget was $192.6 million. The BET gave guidance for 198, and then offered an additional $2 million that Democrats turned down. The superintendent had asked for 202. Like most parents, I found the whole process incredibly stressful. I was disappointed to see the Democrats turn down the $2 million because it could have kept the school start times as they were, which I think would have been a lot less dramatic for a lot of families. I was also really disappointed to see programs that are very much valued by our families, PE, the advanced learning program, sports, put on the chopping block. I think there was not enough emphasis put on looking at administration, at way we could be more efficient so that we could protect the individuals who directly contact our students and impact the quality and differentiation of their education.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Cavarelli.
I would just like to respond to that.
You're all going to get to speak. You all get to speak.
Okay.
Ms. Cavarelli, you're next.
I think that the Board of Education this last spring was faced with an incredibly difficult task. And they had to make some incredibly difficult decisions. And I would compliment everyone on the Board of Education in their efforts to reduce not having to cut teachers and forward-facing staff so that our students would not suffer. Obviously, as a district, we have felt the implications of the budget cut across the board in many different ways, whether it's the buses, whether it's staff shortages in different areas. But I would like to compliment their work in what they did in a very short amount of time. I do think that as a town, whether it's the BOE, the BET, we need to look at efficiencies in our budget and make sure that we are funding everything we need appropriately, and it is what the district needs, and again, in a collaborative manner, so we never end up in this place again.
Mr. Cheney, you're next.
I do want to say I was in the room when that vote happened in the BET, and there was no motion or mention of a $2 million. It was $4 million. That was the only vote that happened. That was the only. Doesn't matter what happened behind closed doors, what anybody else says. In my opinion, not in my opinion. The fact is that the only thing that was put forth was a $4.2 million reduction. Now the reduction by the Republicans on the BET was horrible, and the students are suffering for it. I gave the Board of Education a terrible choice to make. And in my opinion, they did the best they could with what they had to do. And I know I'm really upset about the buses too. I got to take my kids. I drop them off at 4:30 in the morning. I'm kidding. I'm not a bad dad like that. But I drop them off very early but I can. I have that choice. There are people in this town who don't have that choice. There's single parents, there's working parents who don't have these choices that I'm lucky enough to have. So I feel like the BOE made the choices they had to make, but they didn't have to make those choices if the BET was doing their job.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Costin.
So I wanted to just level set on the facts, and there was no motion for the 2 million, as Bob mentioned. Over the years, we have lost an astounding amount of staff because we couldn't afford them. And there is no other way to communicate a need than to communicate it early and often. As I said before, we still don't have any budget guidelines for the current year. Last year, we got them far too late from the BET. So the process of the timing is an easy course correction, but there's been no willingness to correct on that front just yet. And just to let you know, we have lost 1.0 K-5 specialists in the past couple years, 3.0 K through 5 elementary classroom sections. We have right-sized our buildings to accommodate our enrollment. We lost a further 4.0 in middle school full-time equivalents, 5.0 high school full-time equivalents. I mean, I have a list of 13 reductions in staff that we've had to make over the past few years, not to mention media assistants and evaluators and PE staff and 2 from Central Middle School. I think it's astounding how much we have diminished our offerings to accommodate a finance board that is unwilling to see the need.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Capielli.
I think it's important for the community to know that there were funds available, whether the $2 million was offered behind closed doors and another side of the BET said, you know, 4 million or nothing, whether it was offered over the table, there should have been more communication and trust. I believe it was there. Not only was that there, but I myself facilitated a $1.9+ million supplement, which was the number to cut the buses. And on top of that, we ended up with a 2.5 million surplus in the school budget from the year before. So for those of you doing the math, that's $6.4 million. If we want to take the $2 million off, because it may or may not have ever been a moved motion, we're still talking about the difference for the buses. And the biggest frustration for families this year was the last minute change to school start times. We had years of debate and planning that went into setting the previous schedule. We balanced student health, transportation logistics, and family schedules. And with almost no notice, those start times were changed without the thoughtful process or community engagement that had gone into the original decision. The result was disrupting for parents, students, and staff, and start times affect everything from sleep patterns, childcare, and athletics and transportation. They can't be changed on a whim. This goes back to the previous question with, you know, how are we going to work with the Board of Ed and trust one another to believe one another. And this last year has been an awful pattern of distrust.
So prior to this question, there was a lot of I agrees, but this time we finally had a little disagreement. So I'm going to offer, if anybody else has any other replies, or if you want, we can move on to the next question. We're good? Okay. So I have a question here. Our leadoff is going to be Ms. Cavaroli. I have a question, but I also have a little note here of a follow-up I have to ask if this question isn't answered. I'll explain in a moment. So specifically, this also touches a little bit on some information that has been raised here so far. So the current BOE chose to change the start time of Greenwich High School from 8:30 to 7:45 a.m. Do you agree with this decision? Why or why not? I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. So I don't agree or disagree with that decision. I feel that the Board of Education had to make a decision on what to do with the $4 million cut when they chose to cut buses and move start times. This is what they had to do. If you're, I'm not sure if I agree with the actual start time. I don't have any high school students. I haven't been in Greenwich High School since the 90s. So I can't say whether it's working or it's not working. I don't know if it's the right time for the students. I do know that there was a tremendous amount of work and research that was done to have the start times where they were last year. I would not be opposed at all to revisiting returning the start times to what they were last year. But I would need significantly more information from parents, from faculty, from staff, and community members before I fully agreed with the start time for Greenwich High School.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Cheney, you're next.
I mean, I have to agree with Veronica. I do have a strong opinion having a kid in high school. I disagree with the idea of the early start time, but I understand why the BOE had to make that choice. I feel like, are we going to take $2 million to change the start time for the buses? And it does inconvenience a lot of people, as I just said. Or are we going to take more educators out of the schools? And we cannot do that. As I've said before, I volunteer at the Greenwich High School Media Center. There's a media specialist assistant there who has a wealth of knowledge. She's not there anymore. She's still working in the district, but she's not at the Greenwich High School anymore. And that wealth of knowledge is just gone. It's like we're hiring people and training people, and then we need to make sure that they stay there. And I feel like while, as I said before, it's making difficult decisions when there's difficult things handed to you, I suppose I should say. And I think the BOE did the best with what they could. Again, I don't feel like the start times are ideal, but I would rather have my sons get a better education because of it.
Mr. Cheney, I had mentioned like they're a follow-up, and you came close, but I just
Got me.
want to, yeah,
Oh,
I got you. You're my
She
first
slipped
victim.
by. Wait a second.
If you could wave a magic wand, would you switch it back to 8:30? Why or why not?
If I could wave a magic wand, I would definitely switch it back to 8:30, right? Yes.
Yeah.
I thought you said 5:30.
No, 8:30.
Okay. I'm like, that'd be great. Yes, I would definitely switch it back. If there was no, basically, the magic wand was waved and we got the 2.5 or maybe even 4.2, if we're waving magic wands around. I would definitely want to go back to that start time because I feel like it's better for the kids. And I feel like there was a lot of research put into doing this start time and a lot of hard work by the BOE, not just the BOE, by the district and the community in researching this later start time. So yes, I think the later start time is better for the kids at that age.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Costa.
So I can only tell you this. The Board of Education works exceedingly hard to keep cuts away from the classroom. The $1.9 million reduction related to the buses created a situation where we tried to do the least bad thing, if that makes sense from a start time perspective. We made the adjustment and decided that the first bell would not be until 7:45. And that would allow students, and I would have made it later if it were up to me, to allow students time to eat their breakfast, I don't know, do some jumping jacks, wake up their bodies. But it was the least bad thing, and we felt 7:45 was a middle ground time so that the sky was actually getting brighter and you're not standing on a bus stop in the complete dark. So we really tried our best, and I'll give you all a preview of tomorrow's debate for the BET. I've already submitted my question. Will you fund a return to the previous start times completely and fully? So that's a preview of tomorrow's debate question for the BET.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Capielli, you're next.
Yes, I would. I'm going to answer the second part first, because I think I talked about a lot of this in my last question. But yes, I'd wave a magic wand. I don't think we have to wave a magic wand. Like I said, I personally negotiated a $1.9+ million supplemental that the BET, and to the disgrin of a lot of the BET members, but we had the votes necessary, assuming that the other party would vote along with us. The other BET members were more aware of the toxicity that was around this. So I wasn't. I don't want to throw them under the bus, but Ms. Costin was one of the only Democrats that said, why aren't we taking the 1.9 million? Another one of her peers actually changed the motion to accept the $1.9 million, so it was out of legal order. Prior to doing that, Dr. Jones stopped the Board of Ed meeting and said, you can't change the motion to do that. A supplemental has to be for a specific person, for a specific purpose. And the member changed the motion so that the funds would specifically not be for a specific purpose, and therefore was doomed at that point. When that motion passed to change the motion, that was the end of it. So we had a magic wand. And again, I'll go back to the fact that whether or not there was $2 million, being offered by the BET, there was the exact number that the bus costs came to. My understanding was that the actual costs were more, but that we weren't being given the full information. And therefore the 1.9 wouldn't have satisfied. But I don't know that. That would have been helpful in answering this question. And again, we weren't aware of a $2.5 million surplus. So there are two things that I'm certain of, which is the 1.9 and change that I personally stewarded, and the $2.5 million in a surplus from the year before. So Veronica had mentioned wanting to have input from the community, input from professionals. And we did that. We did that many years ago. And I think for the most part, there was members that were against it, that were talked into it with the science. And the community was educated on it. And so the change was made. The change was made based on science, based on community input, based on everything. And so to just undo it when there was another opportunity there was foolish. I don't agree with the start time changes. I don't think you should make a change that drastic that quickly. I do understand that ultimately, when the final vote came up, we had already refused some of these other things, and the other options at that point were limited. But we had options prior to that.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Kraus.
Yes, thanks. Look, it was regrettable that things unfolded as they did, particularly given how late in the game they unfolded. Parents, after-school programs were very much caught in the lurch, and I agree with Paul. It feels like there were some opportunities that should have been further explored. I also understand the time pressure given when contracts with the bus company needed to be signed. What I'm also hearing, though, from students isn't just the timing of the bells, but the gap between when the buses arrive and when their classes start, and a lot of students feeling like that's not the highest and best use of their time. Now, if I had a magic wand, if I had, I guess, a single-purpose magic wand, honestly, I probably wouldn't use my wand on buses. I would use it to get 100% of kids reading and math proficiency levels for every grade and provide more differentiated education so children could achieve their full potential.
Just to clarify, given the last part of your response, are you saying that you would prefer to not dedicate more funds to making the time 8:30, you would instead keep it at 7:45?
Look, I would say if we had magic, we'd do everything. But the reality is we don't have magic. And we have citizens who can't afford to have their property taxes go up 8-10% a year. We have to make hard trade-offs. And I ultimately think that having people who interact directly with students makes a bigger difference than the time that the kids start their day.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any replies that they'd like to add? Yes, Mr. Capielli, go ahead.
Karen, you had mentioned the timeliness of the bus contracts, and the fact is, the bus contracts weren't actually signed until well past the deadline for that the supplemental could have been agreed to, because there was a part of the back and forth was, oh, you can't assign a supplemental to this budget season for next. Well, we could have done a memorandum of understanding. Turns out we didn't need to, because by the time the bus schedule was actually signed, we were into the next budget season. And as it relates to the 7:45 bell time, I believe the bell actually, if the bell means go to class, the bell is actually 8 a.m. The kids arrive at 7:45. If you're on a bus, buses are required to get the kids there 15 minutes ahead of the actual legal start time. So those kids are getting there at 7:30, and this is disproportionately affecting our most vulnerable citizens. They're those who don't have suburban in the garage to get the kid to school at 5 minutes to 8, are having to get their kids up very early to meet these buses, to get them to school, and this 15 minutes of just a void is a loss in academic time, as far as I'm concerned. And any loss in academic time is a tragedy.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Just a point of clarification. We needed a bus contract because summer school was starting imminently. And if you'll recall, we had to switch bus companies because the negotiations were just so toxic.
Yes, Mr. Capielli.
Does that mean the bus contract was signed prior to the start of the new year, or the bus schedule was put on hold and we operated in a gray area with the summer school?
No, we needed a bus contract signed or we couldn't rely on a memorandum of understanding. We needed a signed contract. Nobody would sign a contract with the promise to pay. We had to have the funds to pay, and we needed summer school busing in a matter of days.
I just encourage everyone to go and look and see when the actual contract was signed. We were into the next fiscal year.
Any other comments, anyone? Yes, please, Ms. Gilbert.
I also think that the $4 million that was cut from the budget could have been added back in by the BET at any point, whether it was throughout this process of these negotiations, as well as after the RTM SOMR, that there was always the option to bring the money back in.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, everyone. Catherine, yes, you can, we'll go on question 7. I believe Mr. Cheney leads us off for this one.
Last year, the resignation of the Board of Education chair created a vacancy on the board, and a dispute arose over the appointment of a new board member to fill that vacancy. This disagreement divided the board members by party. Unlike the BET, there is no tie-breaking vote. If elected, how will you work constructively and collaboratively with board members of the other party?
Well, I guess we've already talked about this a little bit. The lawsuit was not, in my opinion, it was not good for the town. There's a lot of Greenwich taxpayer money being spent on this lawsuit, but hopefully we will have new members coming in the Board of Education in November, and we can move on. As they say in the Greenwich Public Schools, we can let go and move on, as they like to say. So I think that moving forward, as we've been discussing tonight, I feel like we can take the politics out as much as we can. I'm not naive to think that there's not still going to be politics. We're still going to argue. We're still going to have our opinions. But if we can state our opinions in a polite manner and get our facts straight before we are speaking in the forum, and if we get our facts wrong, I'm the first to admit that I don't know everything. And if I get something wrong, come to me, talk to me, and we'll figure it out. And I think people around town know me like that, and I feel like it's like that on the other side of the party somewhat as well. So I feel like I'm willing to talk, I'm willing to listen, and I feel like I would bring that to the table.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Costa.
So having been through this process and lived it, I will just say that the Board of Education had a wealth of candidates that came to us with the time and dedication to want to serve. And we did our best. We did not get great legal advice from the town attorney. We had no, we had, I can only speak for myself. We had some quaint notion, I had a quaint notion along with some others, that the person who would fill the vacancy would want to continue on serving. We weren't quite sure. I wasn't quite sure who might want to continue, but once somebody is onboarded, it would be great if they had the kind of commitment to stay and continue to lend their skills. That's how I viewed this. And I do hope in the future we are never in this position again. But I will say, in the spirit of collaboration, we just have to move on. Early voting starts within a couple of weeks. A new board will be seated, and we really have to move on from this lawsuit.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Capielli.
I couldn't agree more with the let go and move on, but, and I think we should and will do that as a board with our focus on education and excellence in that. However, everyone can't move on. If we allow this kind of illegal takeover to stand, every board and commission in Connecticut could use it as a precedent, and we could see chaos spread across the state. Rules exist for a reason, and no one's above them. So how would I work inside of this? I'd work within the law. I'd work within the framework. The bylaws of the Board of Education clearly say that after 30 days, the first selectman has the right to appoint. The Connecticut general statutes back it up as well. On top of that, we have pretty clear FOI rules in the state of Connecticut. The first selectman posted a meeting for 24 hours out, and an emergency meeting was called for 3 hours out to appoint or elect the new Board of Ed member for the purpose of getting them up to speed for a meeting that was happening that Thursday. That meeting was on the agenda. It was on the agenda for over 300 days prior to that. So I don't see what the emergency was in that. The emergency was changed as members figured out that probably was a bad emergency. But the answer is that I'd work within the framework of the law, and the solution is what Bob and Laura said, which is we need to let go and move on. Let the town of Greenwich, let the state of Connecticut handle this so it doesn't become an abused practice. I mean, if we had an emergency meeting called every time somebody wanted to facilitate their political agenda, it would be chaos. Every time we knew somebody was on a plane or couldn't be reached, we just call a meeting. The first meeting was called with 3 or 4 hours advance, but they were concerned that the selectman was going to call an emergency meeting quicker than theirs, so they rescheduled it for 43 minutes. These are just ridiculous things, and let go and move on.
Ms. Krause?
Thank you. Look, Paul's provided a detailed account of the facts. I will say, I think it's going to, as we look forward, I think it's helpful. We'll have some new faces on the board, and I think that will help us let go and move on. I will here publicly make a commitment that if the situation were reversed, if one of the Democratic members are unable to fulfill their full term for whatever reason, I will step back. I will honor both the tradition and the rules and let the Democrats choose the replacement that they prefer.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Chiavarelli?
Thank you. I want to begin by saying that there are a lot of nuances to what happened, but I think that overall, we as a board we are going to disagree, and we need to be able to do that agreeably. We need to be able to work together. In my opinion, this lawsuit, this issue, and everything around it takes away from what we actually need to be doing. So although I'd be happy to opine offline, I wasn't there. I'm hoping it'll go away when I'm elected. And I hope to be here and to do my job, to work with the administrators, the teachers, the staff, the community, the rest of the individuals up here on the board, the BET, PTAC, all of the above. I apologize if I missed anyone. And yes, move on, but I don't even think we need to talk about it anymore because it doesn't have to do with the Board of Education.
Does anybody disagree with Ms. Cravarelli and have any extra comments that they'd like to add?
That was well said.
All right, thank you. Okay, so Ms. Costin, you're going to lead us off for this question. This one's a little bit, I think I guess we're going to lower temperatures a little bit with this one. Some of you have already kind of touched on this a little bit, but the community would like to know the answer to this specifically, and that is, what experiences have you had with the public education in Greenwich? Ms. Costin, you're first.
I've had a lot of experience because I have 4 children, and I think I said before, we're 15 years in and still have a 3rd grader and a 7th grader, so we're deeply invested. I will say my first involvement with the schools was when my oldest son started kindergarten. I worked nights. I had time to donate, so I worked in the classroom. I sorted folders and helped with math games and planned classroom events with the teacher. I mean, I sort of had no job is too small. I would do it all if I could help. And later on, when my second one entered kindergarten, I kept getting asked to be a class mom and to volunteer my time. And it really was a joy. That was my first intersection with the public schools. Later on, when we moved to Mid-Country, I served on the PTA board at North Street School. And that really gave me a bird's eye view on how our PTA funds enhance the learning of our students. That was a really valuable education. At the time, I also served on the RTM for 2 terms, and that really gave me a view of how our town budgeting takes place, whether it's functional or dysfunctional, and how our school budgets are set and decided. So I think it has been a great ride for my children. They've gotten a great education. We've been good partners with our teachers. We've been blessed with excellent teachers, and we feel very lucky to live in a town like this where so much is available to our children.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Capielli.
Sorry. My involvement's been that of a student. As I said, I was a graduate of the Greenwich Public School Systems. As a parent, my kids are there. As a member of the Board of Ed for the last year with limited but much access. And with my wife being a teacher, I've made a lot of Play-Doh from scratch. I've made a lot of name tags. But I think I probably get the Townie Award. I have a close friend who's one of the head custodians, and actually 2 head custodians in 2 different schools. A principal who's akin to a sister to me. Guidance counselors that I grew up with. I mean, there's no level of the Greenwich Public School System where I don't have intimate input from people that I've known for over 40 years. I also served on the RTM and got a little bit of the understanding of how the back of the house works. And that's what.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Krause.
Yes. So my two older children, who I occasionally refer to as my free gift with purchase when I married my husband, Craig, Christian and Sophia, started out at Old Greenwich School, then Eastern Middle School, switched over to Central Middle School when Craig and I got married, and then they graduated from Greenwich High School. Christian's out there. Thank you so much, dude. My little ones are at Cobb School. Sabrina's in 5th, Sebastian's in 1st. I've been a class mom for both of them. With Sabrina, I was at JP Morgan working 80 hours a week, so I was cutting out construction paper bat hats at about 3 o'clock in the morning to make it work. I am also currently the PTA ALP rep for Cobb School, and I am the ALP committee co-chair for the PTA council for the district. And like many up here, just incredibly grateful for the dedication of all of the teachers that I've had the pleasure of interacting with.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Chiavarelli?
Thank you. My experience with Greenwich Public School starts a very long time ago. I grew up here in town, and I attended Greenwich High School. I always knew that I wanted to be a teacher and work with kids, and even while I was a student at Greenwich High School, I spent a lot of time in some of the elementary schools, Glenville actually in particular, where I did some volunteer work in the extended school year in the special education department program over there, excuse me. That was a long time ago, though. More recently, I have 2 kids in the public system. They're both at North Street. One is in kindergarten and one is in 2nd grade. One of them is in general education and one of them is in special education. So I have a view of both sides of education. I have been a class mom a few times. I am the special education support co-rep at North Street School. I'm the special education co-chair for PTAC for the district. I'm so proud to be a member of the Julian Curtis School Building Committee, along with my friend Bob Cheney. And I, like Paul, and I graduated from Greenwich High School in the 90s. Thank you.
Very good. Mr. Cheney?
I guess I've talked about the media center, the high school, and the central middle school, but I guess I was in the preschool. I wasn't. My children were. Let me change that. I'm a bit smarter than that. But my kids were at the preschool program at North Street. I was a mystery reader there, which was always a lot of fun. And I guess that was the first time I got into the schools and realized that I was really at my age level, you know. They thought I was hilarious. My kids now, not so much. And they're in 8th and 10th grade now, and go Cardinals, as I like to say. But after North Street, I realized I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed interacting with the children and making sure the teachers were having fun and everybody was enjoying themselves. So when I got to Julian Curtis, I got involved in the talent show, the book fair, Teacher Appreciation Week. I was pushing the coffee cart around, you know, and just try to do everything I could. Family Fun Night. I know that there's probably some other people in the room maybe who might have gone through some of this. And UN Day. If you have not been to UN Day at Julian Curtis, I highly recommend it. It's basically every student gets to dress up in the colors of their nation and bring a flag around. And sometimes there are just one student from one nation, and then I would help carry the other side of the flag. So it would be nice and even out there. I also, with the Greenwich Alliance for Education, they have the AVID program, which they're trying to now roll into the elementary schools at Hamilton Avenue, which I think is going to be amazing, because as I like to say, AVID program is not just for Title I schools. Every student in Greenwich could benefit from the AVID program. And that's not just my opinion, that's a fact. The Greenwich Alliance also does theater programs and music for the arts. And I guess I like to get involved with JC, and it just snowballed into this.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to go out on a limb and assume we don't have any replies for that question. So we're on to question 9. Catherine, if you'd like to, the question first goes to Mr. Capiali.
From the recent Board of Education meetings, it is evident that parents and students have input into the decisions made by the BOE. What concrete steps will you take to ensure the concerns of those who work directly with students, teachers, principals, and school support staff are being heard and addressed by the BOE?
Well, I thank you for recognizing the fact that the parents do have an input. I was moved by the parents and the students who expressed their love for and desire to have their music teacher back. And they achieved that. And so good for them. They were listened to. What steps will I take to continue that happens is I certainly won't get in the way of that, and I'll be open and willing to listen at all levels. As a board member, we're developing policy and creating governance. The day-to-day activities are left to the superintendent and the administrators. But we still need to be listening at every level while not meddling in the affairs of the day-to-day. I just, all I can say is that I was proud of the board that we have that did listen, and Dr. Jones, who did make the action she made. And I think we have that there, and I won't screw it up.
Thank you. Ms. Kraus?
Yes, I think listening to the input of parents, teachers, students, administrators, and other stakeholders in the community is incredibly important, and it's part of this role that I take very seriously. I think there are a couple of ways to do that. One is in person. Be at the schools, ask the questions, and really listen to what's being said and what's not being said. And two, to make sure that we are really getting broad input, I think we need to do surveys. I think we need to hear as a Board of Ed directly from parents, from students, from teachers, what they think on key issues. I think they have tremendous expertise, and I think we should be tapping into that.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Chiavarelli?
The Board of Education is a policy governance board, and I think that we need to tread lightly in getting involved in personnel issues. That being said, as a board, we do hear about day-to-day issues, things that arise, and particularly often it's the frustrations that we hear about more so. I think that we need to use that information to guide us, to help make the best decisions, and work with the staff, appropriate staff, to support those who need the help. But I think it's a fine line that we need to be careful with.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Cheney?
I think this goes back to, and some people have hinted to it as well, to teacher morale. I mean, I think it's we have to make sure we're listening to the teachers. We need to get in the schools, as they said, and not to talk, but to listen. We need to humble ourselves and kind of get into the schools, get into the dirt of the schools and find out what's going on. Parents around town talk too about the buses. I've gotten quite an earful about the buses over the last month or so, but about the pool at the high school, about many, myriad of issues. And not one issue is not, well, I'm sorry. There are issues that are far more important than certain other issues in people's minds and in the facts of the town. But we need to try to focus on all of them, at least briefly, if we can. And I also, one thing I want to say about the students, in the elementary schools, you kind of guide them on what they do, rather. For the middle schoolers and the high schoolers, we need to listen to them. I think one of the most important things in the Board of Education meetings is when the students get up to speak, because they have a voice and they're trying to be heard by us. And for everyone that speaks, there's probably 5 or 6 that don't speak on the same issue or a different one. So we need to encourage more of that by getting into the schools, maybe via the PTAs or other ways.
Could I add one point that I?
Can I come back
I'm
to
sorry.
you after Ms. Costin is gone? Go ahead.
So I just want to level set on what our job is. We are guiders of the district. We are not employees of the district. We shouldn't be in the school unless there's a purpose for us to be in the school. It's actually against our policy for us to go individually into the schools, and we can't just start, talking to teachers. They have a job to do. So I know there's a desire to listen. That is why we have suggested a liaison from the board, be a liaison with GEA, our largest teachers union, so that the communication happens in the right venue in the right way. As far as advocacy, I can tell you parents were the most vocal advocates when Central Middle School was closed. We saw advocacy in action when we needed a new school, and we needed it quickly. We had parents emailing BET members. We had them testifying at P&Z meetings, at every possible level of government to try and expedite this process. I know there are some members of the committee in this room. I'm looking at Ms. Rabin in the back and Claire Kilgallen over there. We really heard and we really listened. We did our level best to move this process along in the most expeditious way possible. And I will say the Board of Ed listened. Eventually, the BET listened. It took a lot of time, but I would say that is an example of advocacy in motion on behalf of parents to the Board of Education.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Krause, you said you wanted to add something.
I did, yes. I think there's a nuance that we might be missing. We do hear from a lot of parents, but let's just say some neighborhoods are a lot more vocal than others, and they're all important. And so I think we need to make sure that we're hearing from parents across the district, even if they're shy.
Okay, thank you very much. If you want to add something as well, Ms. Scapio?
I just want to add on to that. I agree. Some of the most important voices that we'd like to hear don't have the time to come out and advocate for themselves. And they do believe, and they have to rely on us to govern in their best interests and things of that nature. But again, you know, the board is policy and on governance, but we do listen. Yeah.
Okay, any other comments? No? Okay, on to the next question. Ms. Krause, you're going to lead us off for this one. So the question is, how should the Board of Education balance the GPS ADA transition plan with other capital projects over the next 5 years?
Sorry. It's a challenging question and a nuanced one. I think we, at a minimum, need to ensure that we have ADA accessible facilities on the west side, in the center of town, and on the east side, so that no child has to travel too far to have an accessible facility in the very near term. I also appreciate that these projects take a lot of time and planning, and so we have potentially very urgent health and safety issues that we are also remediating. And so I think we need to make sure that there is a fairness across elementary, middle, and high school, and a fairness across the west, central, and east parts of town.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Chiavarelli.
Thank you. The ADA transition plan needs to be integrated into all other capital projects. It's very simple. The ADA transition plan outlines priorities and schools that need to be addressed immediately, that have more needs. We need to look at that with other projects across the district. We need to work, again, it's been a theme of the night, collaboratively together with other departments in town to ensure that when we are looking at a new project, that we are always referring back to the architect report that was done to ensure that we are doing everything we can to make sure that we are compliant, up to code with ADA accessible buildings in every new project in town.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cheney.
There's actually a way it's possible with building committees that are already happening. As vice chair of the Julian Curtis Building Committee, we are working with the chair, David Levine, to try to roll in the ADA transition plan into what we're currently doing at the school to theoretically save money across the board. So I think it's possible to roll these into certain schools and certain plans, but I would have to look at the data for each plan before I don't want to just throw out information that I don't know is factual. So, but I could see it. I could see it happening. I could see it as a possibility, as we're trying to do it at Julian Curtis. So I could see it happening with some of the other schools as well.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Costin.
So Central Middle School will be built to ADA compliant code. Our current building projects already in flight have ADA built into them as part of their purview. And right now, our capital budget allocates funds for implementing our ADA plan. And while the town doesn't always plan look, the town's budgeting process is one that they just sort of erased some projects that also would have ADA components to them. Our capital budgeting process on the Board of Education side has a 5-year plan that integrates ADA into our capital planning process already.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Capielli.
So I agree with most of my peers here, especially Bob and Veronica, as it needs to be woven into everything that we do. And as you heard from Laura, it has been woven into the projects underway right now. However, where there's not a project underway, and there's a need, we need to address it pretty quickly. The town of Greenwich has already been cited by the Department of Justice and has been issued a comply or else. So just from a fiscal conservative point of view, we don't want to be at the boot heel of the Department of Justice for ADA noncompliance, nor do we want to be the ones who are an obstacle for those that need the ADA compliance.
Okay, any comments? All right, very good. So the next question, Ms. Chiavarelli, you'll lead us off. Ms. Broderick, if you'd like to read it.
Do you have any concerns about the suitability of materials in school libraries? How do you think suitability should be addressed?
No, I don't have any concerns. We have wonderful media, they're media assistants, librarians. We have strong administration in all of our schools. They were thoughtfully hired by the district, many of whom have been here for a very long time. I don't doubt that they're working together to ensure that the material available in the libraries for the students is what they need to learn, to select literature to read, and to research, as I assume many of them do in the media. So no, I do not have any concerns.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cheney.
It really couldn't have been put better. I feel the same way. I don't have any concerns with what's going on right now.
Okay, Ms. Costin.
I do not have any concerns, but if a parent does have a question or concern, there is a process to review those books. And right now, I can't imagine. I just don't have any. Sorry.
All right, Mr. Capielli.
Yeah, I have faith in our professionals right now that are handling this. And there is clear policies on controversial topics so families can understand exactly what is and what is not being taught. It hasn't been an issue, so I think we're doing it well. If it becomes an issue, there is procedure in place to address it, and I think we have the staff that can handle that.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Kraus.
I personally don't have concerns. I believe our media specialists follow the established process and they screen books for appropriateness in terms of subject matter as well as reading level. They I do, however, encourage families, if there are certain topics that they find sensitive, that they have an open dialogue with their children. If there are certain books you don't want your children to read, you can ask them to stay away. And as Laura mentioned, there is a review process. And so if there is a book that somehow slips through the layers of screening, the school district is willing to review it.
Okay, thank you very much. The next question, Mr. Cheney, you're going to lead us off. The question is, do you support moving forward with upgrades to fields 6 and 7 at Greenwich High School and other improvements to athletic fields across the district for the benefit of our student athletes and the broader community?
I do, and I will talk about something very specific to that. I feel like we need to get the lights up. As I think Mike put it perfectly, I don't think he might have left already, but Friday night lights, it's like I was more of a theater guy than a football guy myself, but I understand the importance of that, and I understand why it builds a sense of community, and I feel like getting these fields up and running to where they need to be is a very important thing, and I feel like getting the lights. I know it's a quagmire. I'm very aware of the legalities behind it, and I thought it was easier than I knew it to be until I did some research on it. But there might be a way to do that. I hope we can get around to doing that.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Costin.
I support any project that will expand the number of usable fields we have because we need them. And it would be great if we could use the lights more often than we do.
Mr. Capielli?
I must admit, I don't know exactly what fields are 6 and 7, but I have to agree with my peers here that, yeah, we need as many fields as we can get, and prioritizing that service for our athletes would be excellent. But I want to say that I'm all about the lights. I agree with you. I believe there is a path forward, and I look forward to exploring it with you.
Ms. Krause?
Yeah, I think we all agree physical exercise, team sports are incredibly important. They teach valuable lessons in working together, in pushing through discomfort because others are counting on you. They teach children how to be gracious winners and gracious losers. And I think, we're all battling the screens at home, and so having more green space and making that more appealing is certainly helpful. That said, we unfortunately don't have the magic wand that you offered earlier, so we do need to do this in a way that is cost-effective and respectful of the taxpayers who are funding it.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Chiavarelli?
Like Paul, I do not know what fields 6 and 7 are, and I have to be completely honest that I don't actually know what is wrong with them. However, if there is something wrong with them and they're unusable, they need to be fixed. It's very simple. I believe so much in the opportunity for athletics for all of the students at Greenwich High School, in the middle schools, even earlier. But what sports provide for children, whether it's team sports or individual sports, is tremendous, and it is essential. So whatever's wrong with fields 6 and 7, yes, I believe it needs to be fixed as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, the next question first goes to Ms. Costin. Ms. Roderick, if you'd like to ask.
The new Central Middle School will have significantly more capacity when it opens, while Eastern Middle School is overcrowded. Do you support the changing of catchment areas?
So the idea of different catchment areas came up early on in our deliberations about Central Middle School. I think the question I had personally had to do with why we separate Parkway. Parkway is the only school where students are divided between Central and Western. And it's difficult for them socially. We never got to the bottom of this answer. It predates any board member that I know's service, so they never had a good answer for me. But while I don't have a great answer on whether I would support changing the catchment areas of the schools on the east side, I do think we have the opportunity to remedy a problem And I think if given the choice, parents would choose to send their children to one school where they get to matriculate on with their peers that they know, so they have a easier transition, because the transition to middle school is difficult enough. So I think I would leave the issue of catchment areas aside for now on the east side, but I would certainly advocate for a more cohesive process on how we decide who goes where as it relates to Parkway. Parkway is the one that I'm truly concerned about.
Hey, Mr. Capielli?
As it relates to the capacity in the district, once Central is built, I would advocate for a change in the catchment. We've got our staff overworked at Eastern. We're busting at the seams, and we're building a school that can relieve some of that. I have witnessed catchment area changes before. They're thoughtful to make sure the elementary schools kind of all go in one direction, so your peers are kind of with you, or at least neighborhood-wise. And I'll try and cut it off at the post road, but all these things are very thoughtful things that need to happen. It might be unpopular, but we're here to lead, and sometimes leading is making decisions that are unpopular. Eastern's busting at the seams. Parkway is an issue, but we don't have anything else up there. To get the people to drive, people have advocated for closing Parkway. I think that's not something I would support, but redistricting for Central, I would.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Kraus?
Agree with what's been said about the Eastern is bursting at the seams. Children in Parkway are entering a very challenging time in their development, potentially separated from their closest friends. But I also understand that changing catchment areas can be sensitive. It can impact property values. And I do think, frankly, the best way to address concerns about property values is to make sure all 3 of our middle schools are excellent and desirable places to have your children go. I am personally a big proponent of parent choice, so I would want to look into the possibility of having a magnet school that could draw students by their and their family's choice to Central rather than us forcing them. And to the extent that we do need to redraw lines, I think we really need to think about not distance as the crow flies, but I think we need to look at the layout and the traffic on our roads and think about commuting times to and from those schools before we finalize decisions.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Chiavaroli?
This is a complicated topic and a complicated question that I think takes significant amount of thought and discussion. I am not in support of redistricting or changing the catchment areas, but I do recognize that Eastern is quite full and Central Middle School will have more capacity. And I do think that as a board, we need to sit down and think about how we can look at programs and opportunities for students that make Central attractive and allow students to attend Central if it's the right fit, if it has the right program or it's going to be a very ADA accessible school. So if it has the right facilities is also, but again, I think that this is something that takes a lot more thought and collaboration than I'm willing to fully answer.
Okay, Mr. Cheney.
That's kind of echoes my sentiment as well. I don't feel like this is a on-the-spot answer that you can give concrete. While I do know that Eastern is very full, I don't know how the community would react to this. I was thinking like we want to get into the schools and listen to what the faculty and the parents and the students have to say at Eastern Middle School and Central Middle School. And I could guarantee you, if this came up, there would probably be a lot of people speaking at the BOE meetings for this. So we can listen to them and and again, ultimately we would make a decision on this, but we need to listen to what's going on in town.
Yes, Ms. Costa.
Just one more thing. I'm a member of the Central Middle School Building Committee and have been since its inception. And one of the things that we are conscious of is what has happened before. When we built when Glenville School was built, people thought it would never get full. But we saw if you build it, they will come. And I have to imagine before we look at changing anything, we need to see what the uptake is for the new school, because it could be a game changer for families who have chosen to bypass the school up until now. So I think until we know what we're looking at enrollment-wise when the school is set to open next year, we are in no position to start redistricting just yet.
Okay. So we have about 15 minutes left. 10 of that is for your closing remarks. I would like to offer just one last question, but I just want to keep everybody in mind just how much time we have. So it's roughly a minute each to respond. Mr. Capielli, you're going to be the lead off for this question. So the question is, earlier this year, the state legislature passed an omnibus special education bill, which included important reforms to Connecticut's special education system. What policies or programs do you support to ensure successful educational outcomes for special education students in Greenwich?
Special education is one of the most critical responsibilities we have as a district, and right now there are several areas we need to address. First, staffing remains a challenge. Open positions are uneven coverage ratios, and they mean we're stretching teachers too thin, which affects both special ed and general ed classrooms. We need to make Greenwich a place where top special ed professionals want to work and stay. Second, we have to balance centralization with neighborhood placements, or make a decision on that. Some families want their children to served close to home, while others benefit from centralized programs with more resources. The key is making sure every student gets the support they need. Third, if we expand pre-K, we need cleaner criteria and stronger peer ratios. Other districts like Darien use strict targets to ensure classrooms serve both special ed and general ed students. We should learn from that. We also can't ignore the important impact on child general education. Frequent disruptions hurt everyone. Classrooms that need the right staffing and support so that all children can thrive. And finally, outplacements are growing, and the cost is growing. While sometimes necessary, they pull resources out of the district. We need to strengthen our in-district programs so more children can succeed here in Greenwich, which is better for students, families, and taxpayers alike.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Kraus.
Our special ed population is among the most vulnerable students with whom we are charged of protecting and educating. It's also one of the most regulated areas and one of the most expensive to serve. I will keep my remarks brief because I am sitting less than 3 feet away from an expert in special ed who I will be counting on to provide me much more nuanced answers than I could hope to provide. I do think we need to look at I think we need to explore the potential for creating centers of excellence so that students can get their needs met and so that we don't have teachers spending time in their cars driving from one location to another. I think in addition to making sure students get the best and most appropriate services, it also potentially saves the taxpayers' money and enables us to spend that on some of the shortages.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Chiavarelli.
Thank you. Last spring, I met with both State Representative Arzano and State Representative Tina Corpus, who serves on the Special Education Committee. Hector's on the Education Committee. And I met with both of them to discuss this bill, actually. And one of the most important things that I believe that came out of it is the thoughtful outplacement facilities that are available for the students who require outplacement. Outplacement will always be a part of our Greenwich Public Schools, as there will be students that will be better serviced elsewhere. And the fact that our own Chief of Special Education was part of that process in evaluating the schools, I think speaks a lot to the expertise that we can have we as a district, not me, sorry, that we can have when we encourage students and support them through the outplacement process that specifically. Overall, I think that the bill was very good and covered a lot of areas. I do have a few lingering questions within it that I hope to see them working with at the state level this coming year. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Cheney.
I agree with everything that was said before me. We need to strengthen the programs we have. And one of the things I would even just add to what Veronica said, which was great, by the way, outplacement should go to the students who deserve it, and it should also be constantly monitored to see if the students who have been outplaced are ready to come back into the public schools.
Okay, Ms. Costin.
So I am a parent of a student who learns differently, and I can tell you this, I saw the bill. I too have some questions about how IEPs change and how districts service the children that fall within their purview. But when I joined the board had just been given the results of a special education audit with 28 recommendations. Many of them during my tenure have been implemented and others are still progressing. I think we need to go a bit further than what we're offering, including increasing consistency across schools, as well as increasing the amount of co-teaching we're providing to our special education students. We have a superintendent and a board that has been very willing to fund new programming so that our outplacements are less necessary and parents want to keep their students in the district. And that's one area where I think we can keep innovating. So I was supportive of the legislation that came through Hartford. I don't support all the legislation that comes through Hartford, but that bill happened to be a good one. So with that said, I do hope our unique learner program continues to grow, and those students don't have to leave their home district and their peers to be serviced elsewhere. That's all.
Okay, thank you very much. So now we're entering into the final stage. I know how antsy some people may be. We are, each of the candidates are going to offer a 2-minute closing statement. We're going to do this in the same exact order that we did the opening statements. So, Ms. Cavarelli, you're up again. You lead us off.
Thank you again to the League of Women Voters for the opportunity tonight, as well as my fellow candidates. It's really an honor to be up here with you, and thank you to everyone in the audience on TV and Zoom and who stuck it out till 9 o'clock. There's so much to be proud of here in Greenwich Public Schools. We have really exceptional programs and curriculum at every grade level that challenges students to think deeply and critically. We have outstanding faculty and staff who bring experience, creativity, and energy into the classroom every single day. We have supportive board, hardworking administrative, and because of this, our students are learning, achieving their goals, and experiencing real success. But at the same time, we do face real challenges. Teacher morale is not where I think it can be. Staff are stretched thin, often asked to take on responsibilities that are far beyond their roles. Our special education system continues to struggle to meet the diverse needs of each student, and our local boards have become confrontational when we need collaboration and respect. As a member of the Board of Education, I will drive positive change. I'll listen closely to our teachers so we understand what they need to truly love their jobs again. I will ensure our resources are invested in programs that foster measurable student achievement. And I'll work collaboratively with parents, teachers, administrative, and all of my fellow board members to achieve these goals. Thank you so much, and I ask for your vote in 2 weeks, November. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Cheney, you're next.
I also want to thank the League of Women Voters and the moderators and all of the BOE members here for having us for this debate. Also, thank you to the audience, both here in person and watching and listening and online. You did it. We're almost done, promise. I actually said a lot of what I was going to say in my conclusion during the debate, but let me just leave you with this. If my volunteer work around town says anything, it says that I'm deeply invested in the Greenwich Public School program. I started out just helping out at the Julian Curtis Elementary School 10 years ago. Now, when I go to the Greenwich High School Media Center to volunteer or do donut days at Central Middle School, I see the kids I helped with a book at the book fair at Julian Curtis. I see the child that didn't want to get up and sing, and we encouraged him or her to get up and sing at the talent show. I see firsthand the differences that are being made, both positive and negative, if I'm being honest, in our public schools. And when I'm elected to the Board of Education, I plan to keep learning about what I can do to help make the lives of the students and the faculty in the Greenwich Public Schools better and brighter. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Costin.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. I'm running for a second term on the Board of Education to continue our district's drive toward excellence. Excellence in the classroom with facilities to match. The theme of my campaign is delivering results. What it means is I'm actively working decisively and methodically to provide students with the best education possible. The proof is in our achievement data, and we are moving up in the ratings to boot. For years, I watched, as a parent, the complete polarization of the Board of Education, which led to inaction and delay. I vowed to always keep my focus where it belongs, on the needs of our students. I took an oath, and I am upholding it. On matters before the board, I pick up the phone and I speak to my colleagues on both sides. I seek their input. The battle over Central Middle School, the biggest capital project in our town's history, is the perfect example of a political firestorm on both sides of the political divide. But I stood firm in the center, advocating for a school that our students needed. Central Middle School, my baby, is a symbol of what it takes to be effective in this role. It's a symbol of what can be accomplished if you put your advocacy in the right place, behind the needs of students. And with me, what you see is what you get. A proven track record of excellence, effective, competent, student-centered leadership, and that is why I'm asking for a second term and your vote. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Capielli.
Thank you. I as well want to thank everyone, including those who were thoughtful enough to write the questions. I agree with Bob. I think a lot of the questions were so thoughtful. They've allowed me to express a lot of things that I had in my closing statement. So I think I spoke more than most people, so I'll make this quick. I want to thank you for giving me the chance to share why I chose to serve on the Board of Education. For me, this is personal. My roots in Greenwich run deep. Education is woven into my family's story and into our future. We have incredible teachers, staff, and resources. Excellence must be our standard, not just aspiration. A strong school system does more than provide opportunity for students. It strengthens families, raises home values, and attracts people to Greenwich who want to invest in their children and in this town. I believe my role is to be a steward of that excellence, to listen to parents and teachers, to support our students, and to make decisions that keep Greenwich among the very best places to live and learn. I am committed to hard work, fairness, and keeping focus where it belongs, on preparing our children for success. I am honored to have the opportunity to continue to serve to help ensure that Greenwich schools remain not only a source of pride, but a model of excellence for generations to come. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Ms. Kraus.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you, League of Women Voters, moderators, fellow candidates, and all of you for investing your time to make informed decisions at the polls. It's been a pleasure to share this stage and discuss the bright future of our schools. As we conclude, I want to leave you with my core commitments. I will dedicate my time on the board to 4 key pillars. First, academic excellence. Our primary mission must be ensuring all students receive an excellent and appropriate education that prepares them to be good citizens and productive members of society. None of us knows exactly what the future holds, But we do know that fostering a love of learning and helping students develop an ability to assimilate information and think critically are the best ways to equip the next generation to thrive. Second, fiscal responsibility. With over 2 decades in finance, I know how to scrutinize a budget. I will provide rigorous oversight of our operating budget and major capital projects and ensure every dollar is spent wisely, protecting both the classroom and the taxpayer. Third, student and staff safety. I will work to ensure we have the right policies implemented and enforced to maintain a safe, calm environment that is conducive to teaching and learning. And fourth, and most importantly, constructive collaboration. The challenges facing our schools are complex, and I'm committed to listening to all perspectives, analyzing the data, improving transparency, and de-escalating conflict so the Board of Education can work effectively with parents, teachers, administrators, the BET, to ensure Greenwich delivers world-class public education. I hope to earn your trust and your vote. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I want to also thank the candidates very, very much. Disagreement is one of the benefits we have of our system of government, and I really appreciated the decorum with which you all disagreed at times. I want to thank the audience very much. You know, we had a couple of grumblings in the audience, but for the most part, we were all really good, and we allowed the candidates to speak. So thank you very much. And then finally, I'm going to thank my counterpart for her uncompromising questioning of the candidates. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to the league, and I think there's another one tomorrow.
Thank you.